Most overvalued, most overrated for Iowa. And keep in mind, this is not me just saying, let's pave it in stone here that this group is overrated, but you got to pick one, right, for the purposes of this conversation. And what about wide receiver for the Hawkeyes? I will raise my hand on this. I will raise my hand on this. I've been someone that has said this might be the best wide receiver group in some time for the Hawkeyes. I still believe that. In Reese Vanderzee, RVZ, not trying to single you out. We just need a nice graphic for the screen here on the Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live. But you're one of these receivers. Are we overvaluing this group to some degree? I think quarterback is up for discussion in this group. Most overvalued, I think, right? Most overrated, that's reasonable to talk quarterback until Mark Gronowski goes out and proves it in the Big Ten. Then, look, it's fair to have some concerns. We got to see it. I haven't seen good quarterback play in a long time at Iowa, so that would be a discussion. But wide receiver, right? Jacob Gill did some nice things a season ago. 35 grabs, 411 yards, 2 touchdowns. Our man right here on the screen, Reese Vanderzee, I think has a ton of potential. He's a big-bodied wide receiver that can go up and high catch, high point of football for you. 6'4", 207. I love Reese Vanderzee's potential. I think he has a big Hawkeye career ahead of him. The young man, in-state, Central Lyon, GLR, George Little Rock. You guys know where Reese Vanderzee is from. But last season, in part because of injuries, 14 grabs, 176 yards, 3 touchdowns, and it was all early in the touchdown category for Reese Vanderzee. Had the big early debut, but have we overvalued this a smidge before we see it? Outside of Jacob Gill, Reese Vanderzee last season in terms of wide receivers, he was next closest for Iowa. 14 receptions, 176 yards, those 3 touchdowns. Seth Anderson, a transfer name coming in before last year, and just the 5 grabs, 106 yards. Jarriett Bowie, still waiting to see a leap forward from Jarriett Bowie. Let's see. Beyond Bowie, how about Dayton Howard? 4 grabs, 62 yards a season ago. Caden Weegan, love him in the special teams department. I'd like to see more of him as a wide receiver. 3 catches, 46 yards, though. So, and this all with the understanding that you're dealing with a certain level of quarterback play. It didn't deliver as expected. Cade McNamara didn't pan out the way that you hoped it would. When he was healthy, didn't get a ton of production there. When he wasn't, well, guess what? You had to turn to Brendan Sullivan, who was unproven in Iowa City. He ran into some injury concerns. Stratton. So the quarterback play was not settled, of course, for Iowa's pass catchers a season ago. But wide receiver, there's been a lot of discussion about this is the best group of wide receivers Iowa's had in some time. And again, as some of you in the comments are saying, well, it's not that hard to beat some of the recent Iowa wide receiver groups. I hear you, but the expectation for this group, I think, is to be one of the better Big Ten wide receiver groups. But who's that big frontline star? Jacob Gill right now? Probably, right? I think there's more to be had from Jacob Gill, but maybe just collectively we're overvaluing this a little bit. But I do think with Mark Gronowski, if you pass protect him well, you've got quite a bit of offensive line experience returning in the way of Bo Stevens, in the way of Jennings Dunker, in the way of Logan Jones. And we'll see about Trevor Lauk. If he's the starting left tackle, Doetzler, you got Bryce George there. Obviously, Pieper is somebody that we hear at right guard that there's great reason to be excited about. I think you're operating with a good offensive line that should protect Mark Gronowski. I think you've got a quarterback in Mark Gronowski that will add the dual threat capability to this offense. All of these should be great things for the Iowa pass catchers. But we got to go see it. And we need to see an Iowa pass catching group that has more than one guy that is north of 30 receptions. Again, a lot of this is due to the quarterback play that you had in Iowa City. A lot of this also is because you had a historic season unfolding in your backfield with Caleb Johnson, and it wouldn't be all that bright to take carries away from Caleb Johnson. So I understand those items, but I'm just thinking, and again, raising my hand, I'm a part of this parade as well for the Hawkeyes where I'm saying, look, this could be one of those most athletic wide receiver groups, but we've got to see the KJ Parkers of the world deliver something. We've got to see Seth Anderson, Jariat Bowie, Dayton Howard, Weegan if he's more involved, even Reese Vander Zee, who we love and I love. I think he's primed to have a big-time Hawkeye career. I think he's an NFL wide receiver before it's all said and done. He's got to stay healthy, and he's got to have more than 14 grabs and 176 yards, right? So I'm just saying, if I got to pick a most overvalued going into next season, or maybe a little bit overrated based on the way the fan base is talking, the way I have been talking at times throughout this offseason, wide receiver, right? So, again, other position groups that I considered, quarterback, just because, okay, you're the two-time national champion at the FCS level. I think Mark Gronowski is going to be a stud. I think he's going to unlock pieces of this Iowa offense we have not seen in what feels like ages. Feels like it's been since the Middle Ages since we've seen Iowa do what we hope at quarterback the Hawkeyes with Gronowski will be able to accomplish. But we got to see it, right? So if you're picking position groups for most overrated, overvalued quarterback, given what's happened, what's transpired over the last 5 years or so for the Hawkeyes, that would be a reasonable vote. What other position groups would be in that mix for maybe a little bit overrated out there? Tight end, can't say that about those guys. I don't think. Maybe you could if you're of the mindset that Addison Ostringa and Zach Ortworth, if I could speak here, Addison Ostringa and Zach Ortworth, if they just, you snap the fingers and one of those two guys morphs into that NFL tight end of old that you've had in Iowa City, maybe that's a little bit premature. Probably got to see it over there. I don't think anybody right now is overrating the cornerback position. I think you're optimistic, but you're realistic about some of the leaps that need to happen there for TJ Hall, for Deshaun Lee, the jump in to Big Ten football for Shaheed Barros.